Welcome to Ministry in Motion, a program where we explore best practices for your ministry in the 21st century. Our topic today, healthy leaders. You know, sometimes pastors, lay leaders, we become so busy doing good things, we don't take care of ourselves. Today we want to talk about eating healthfully, taking care of our bodies. Our special guest, Dr. Nerida McKibben. Nerida, thanks for being with us today. You are well known to many on the Hope Channel with your daily program, but we're speaking today specifically to leaders. But I know leaders have bodies too.
Oh, they sure do.
And we need to learn how to take care of ourselves. Now, you come with a unique perspective, may be helpful to know, because you've also been part of a ministry team.
Correct, that's right. My husband was a pastor, so yes, I'm used to taking that role, but also bringing health into the church.
And also as a physician, so you've got that combined focus. Am I just thinking about my own life when I say sometimes we neglect taking care of ourselves as busy leaders, or do you see that that is indeed a challenge for many?
I think it is a challenge, especially in ministry, because you don't close the door on the office. The office is open 24/7. And so it can be very easy to be so busy doing the Lord's work that you forget that your body is the temple of God. And so, you know, I've seen it very much in my ministry in New Zealand, where leaders just burn themselves out. In fact, pastors burn themselves out much quicker than the average person because of that problem. And
so good intentions, good things?
That's right. Good things, but an imbalance. Yes.
So let's talk about what happens if we don't eat healthfully, and then we'll talk about some things that we could do. What actually happens to the body if we don't eat healthfully?
Well, you know, it's not just eating. 80% of chronic disease comes from our lifestyle habits, which is diet, exercise, and stress.
So we need to do some other programs on exercise.
You do,
right?
Yes.
But diet's part of it.
Diet is a big part of it, and so you know, if you don't put the wrong fuel in your car, so why would you put the wrong food in your body? And so a lot of it comes from just knowing what's good for you. There are so many messages out there. Oh, eat this, or don't eat that, or eat this, eat more of this.
You'll be happy if you snack on this. It's very subtle.
Right. And our habits around eating have changed dramatically in the last 10 years. We've gone from eating 3 meals a day to eating 6-7 times a day, perhaps just grazing the whole day through. And that's had a big impact on our bodies.
Now, I'm obviously not medically trained. I could think, well, one thing that could happen is obesity, and I know that's a pandemic problem, but there are other health problems that can come, right, from not, to use your analogy, not putting the right fuel in your body.
That's right. Obesity is a big one, and the American Medical Association has just created that, just relabeled that as a disease in and of itself. And that tells us what a big problem that is, because that's going to lead to heart disease, diabetes, increases the risk of some cancers, hypertension, high cholesterol, all of those metabolic problems. Those all go together with the diet, exercise and stress, or the wrong diet, no exercise and stress. And so those are all big problems. They're the major killers nowadays. And, you know, I see people who have followed a good lifestyle still in ministry or still operating. You know, I'm a surgeon, still operating at 90, 95, and they're amazing to see. They are very inspirational. And so I'd love to see our leaders aspire to be leaders like that.
Absolutely. And we're calling this program Healthy Leaders because actually, if I don't take care of my body, it doesn't just affect me.
Right. You're a role model. You know, I love the story of Bill Hybels. He's baptizing all these people one Sunday, and he thought, I'm really tired. What happened today? Wow, those were all big people. And he looked at himself and he said, I matched them. You know, I've put 30 pounds on in the last 10 years. And he took his entire congregation, thousands of people, down the Daniel plan. And to see a congregation, a whole faith community, make this decision, make this commitment to follow a healthy diet behind their leader. And he led
Great.
that.
I think it was Rick Warren, actually.
Was it Rick Warren?
Yeah,
oh,
at
sorry,
Saddleback.
it probably was.
But because I remember the Daniel plan, but there's a great illustration of if you're a leader in your church, you could impact your whole community, but it has to start with us, doesn't it?
It does.
So we're going to talk about how we can do that in our next segment, but let's get past that mental hurdle of saying, I know I don't want heart disease, I know I don't want cancers which could be caused by poor fuel, but I just can't seem to change. I'm just in this rut grabbing fast food and snacks. What's it going to take to bump me out of that rut so that I really can be intentional about being a healthy leader?
I think they say knowledge is power, and applied knowledge is greater power. And so, like if I say, well, eating meat increases the risk of diabetes by 15%, processed meat, just 2 ounces of processed meat will increase the risk of diabetes by 35%. Whereas if you go to a plant-based diet, you just exclude the meat, you reduce your risk by 15%, by 35%. You take the meat, the dairy and the eggs out, you've dropped your diabetes risk by 65%. So just that alone is going to be motivating.
So you think information can help?
Information will help. Then you apply that by making a list of all the reasons why you want to make this change. You write it down, you write your goals down, just like you do your ministry goals. You write your personal health goals down.
So I want to grow old with my spouse. I want to see my grandchildren grow up.
Absolutely.
Very real goals. Is that what it will take to motivate us?
It is. That's going to help us along that path.
Sometimes it seems that people, it takes a bad report from the doctor before they finally say, I have to change.
Right.
You're hoping that we could get there before that?
I would hope so. I know that sometimes those what I call the cannon across the bows experiences, God brings those to us to just wake us up before the sudden cardiac death happens.
Yes.
But, half of heart attacks are just sudden cardiac death. They happen in men who are on a Western lifestyle, age 65 plus, have heart disease. That's just a given. So don't wait till you
Don't
get
wait
there.
till it's too late. And don't leave now, because we're going to talk after the break how you can make changes, how you can know what to do so you can be a healthy leader. And as we've discovered, it's not only going to bless your life, it will bless your family, it will bless your community. We're talking about healthy leaders here on Ministry in Motion. We'll be right back after the break. Welcome back to Ministry in Motion. Our topic today, healthy leaders. Our guest, Dr. Nerida McKibben. Nerida, we've learned a lot already about the problem, and that is that we can become so busy, leaders, that we don't take care of ourselves. Specifically, we're talking here about what we're eating. You gave us some great motivation. Talk to us about that, besides waiting until we get the bad medical report. What can move us from saying, this is just my life, I snack and graze? What can help us to say, I've got to make some changes?
You need to be very intentional. Whenever you make goals in your life, you're intentional about it. So think about your health goals. Say, okay, this is my weight now. What would I like to be? Or what's ideal for me? And say, okay, realistically speaking, that's going to take me probably 1 pound a week. So set that goal. I like to make a graph, because I have this problem just like everybody else. I'll make a little graph and I'll say, okay, by a month's time, I need to be down to this point. And I watch that graph every day. And as I'm tempted, I think, it's not going to help me on that graph. But, you were giving some examples. I want to see my grandchildren grow up. Or for ladies, I want to fit into that dress, or I need to be this weight by that time. I think of Bill Clinton. I want to look good for Chelsea's wedding. So those little steps along the way can be markers that help you achieve your goal. So use them and make it really realistic. And then say, okay, it's not just about eating, I need to also exercise. So how am I going to build 10-minute walks into my day? Just 10 minutes at a time is the ideal. You don't want to go hard out. Just 10 minutes of walking here, 10
From
minutes
no
of walking
exercise to 2 hours and a heart attack, right?
there. Yeah, right.
Yes.
And then think about, perhaps even get a diary of what you eat in 2 days. Sit down and look at how many calories that can be a very sobering experience.
Yes.
Many people very overweight sit in my office and they say, but doctor, I hardly eat anything, And
what they're saying is they may never sit down for a regular meal.
Right. They just don't realize we eat quite mindlessly when we should very much eat mindfully. And so be mindful for just 2 days. Write down everything that goes and eat normally, what you normally do. Be honest with yourself.
Yes.
And just assess that and say, okay, that's not going to cut the mustard. What I need to do is replace. And God is very much into the solving problems with replacement. That's his methodology. What am I going to replace this with? I can replace that with an apple, or I can replace this with water, rather than having sugared beverages, for example. And what I say to people, a great way to start, replace all your drinks with just water and don't snack. Aim to have 3 meals a day.
So if we're taking notes, and by the way, you can go to our website if you want to watch this again, because you say, this is like a message from heaven for me, ministryin.motion.tv. But if you just said no snacks and just water rather than sugared beverages, that's a big step?
It's a big step. I've seen somebody reverse their diabetes just by doing that. They didn't even change their diet. Unfortunately, the diabetes came back, of course, within 5 to 8 years. But just that, reversed their diabetes because they were drinking 2 large bottles of Coke every day.
And if they go to a fast food restaurant, they're encouraged to get this big jumbo 32-ounce sugar drink.
Right. So learn to carry a bottle. And that's a really good example. Carry your bottle of water with you. And then you've always got something to quench your thirst. Cut those snacks out, and then once you've done that, start looking at what you're eating in your meal times. How can you replace what you like with something healthy that you also still enjoy? Healthy food is delicious, but we sometimes need to train our taste buds. And there's a word in the Bible that can help you do that, and that's the word fast. Sometimes just skipping a meal, 2 meals, can be enough to tweak our taste buds so that we begin to think that that apple looks good. You fast for 2 days and the front lawn starts to look good. But that can be that's the fastest way to change your appetite.
I want to confirm what you just said, or affirm what you just said. I remember one time I was taking some time to fast and pray, and I decided to break my fast with a whole wheat roll, just a little round, fresh baked roll. And I remember coming and looking at it like it was so beautiful, rather than if I was going somewhere and wanting to, is that all I'm having for lunch? What's for dessert? All of that.
Right.
Just, do I hear you saying you kind of come to that simple food, and maybe even more simple than that would be some fresh fruit or raw vegetables or whatever, but look at it and come to appreciate that natural flavor?
Yes. Absolutely. Our taste buds need readjusting because the world has pushed all this. In fact, food manufacturers put into our food addictive substances. We taste it and it is so good. It's too good to be true. Yeah.
And that's not just sugar, that's other
flavor enhancers,
additives of some kind?
That's right. It's extra salt, extra sugar, extra, I think of flavor enhancers, they're called here. In other parts of the world, it's MSG. But there's a whole range of them.
It sounds like that commercial food sellers are out to get us. Is it really is it like a battle? I mean, is it a struggle to put the right fuel in?
Oh, it is. They are out to get us. Their bottom line is selling more of their donuts or their waffles or whatever it is.
Some fast food they have.
Yes. Whereas what we need to be thinking, especially as stewards of a precious resource that God's given each one of us, is to say, what is best for my body? What would God want me to eat? And, you know, we ask a blessing over our foods, but, you know, it's...
Maybe we need to pray a blessing before we choose the food.
Yes, you know, I've heard the prayer, Lord, if you can bless what you have cursed, please bless this food, you know. We need to think that more often and say, is this what God would have me to eat? We think about, is this what God would have me to do? So why don't we think about what's going into our bodies and you know, sanctify it for His goodness?
I am listening to this presentation by Dr. Nerida McKibben saying, this is pure gold. I need this for my life because I want to experience life in all its fullness, but I also want to be a healthy leader because I know that this will not only bless my life, but bless the lives of my family, my church, my community. Nerida, after the break, let's talk about some other good fuel that we can put in our bodies that will help us to function at an optimum level. And we'll be right back with more Ministry in Motion right after the break. Welcome back to Ministry in Motion. Our topic today, healthy leaders, specifically what we eat, eating healthfully. Our guest, Dr. Nerida McKibben. Nerida, I am enjoying this program because I know how relevant it is. We've talked about the danger of getting so busy that we just graze or eat what's nearby. We talked about being intentional, thinking about goals. And then you talked about finding the healthy foods. Maybe you could just summarize that. What are some foods we should be eating? Good fuel, to use your analogy of the car and the fuel.
Great. You know, we used to use the food pyramid. Now we've got my plate. And so it's a picture of a circle to represent our plate. Half of it is fruit and vegetables. 1/4 is the protein part of our meal, and 1/4 is the carbohydrate part of our meal. Now, I think I alluded to the advantages of a vegetarian diet. You know, as a church, we are known for our vegetarianism, although actually vegetarians are now in the minority. We're down to about 40 to 50%, all right? And I would like to see that increase because otherwise we're going to lose our advantage. We're going to lose that longevity that we've enjoyed, and it's not just living long with poor quality, it's living long
well.
with tremendous quality.
Right.
My dad's 80, he's just gone out and bought himself a mountain bike and he's cycling around the farm. You know, that's what I want to see everybody enjoying. So eat half of your plate, fruits and vegetables. And what I encourage people to do if they're trying to lose weight is start by eating the raw part, or the vegetables, or the fruit, whichever you're having in that meal. Start by eating them so you fill up on those. Those are nutrient-dense, calorie-poor. And that's what we want if we're going to lose weight. We're going to fill up on those. Fiber's going to give us that nice, satisfied feeling. We need to make sure we have plenty of protein because that will also make us feel full. So for that, if we're going vegetarian, that might be legumes. Legumes have tremendous advantages.
So like beans or?
Beans, you know, they're like a superfood. They're going to give you lowered risk of colorectal cancer, or many cancers actually. They're going to give you good digestive function, and they're going to protect the heart, take your cholesterol down. There's so many advantages to legumes. And my favorite one would be soy, because it also has the added advantage of reducing prostate, breast cancer, being healthy for the heart, having omega-3 fats. So that would be my favorite legume.
And isn't that actually more economical than buying meats, especially processed foods?
That's right. Meat is really not sustainable for this planet. And processed foods, even fake meat, it's highly processed. And it's not going to be so good for you as if you can do the least processed, cheapest form. And then for your carbohydrates, think about whole grains. Whole grains are going to contain the minerals you need to keep your body healthy, as well as the fiber and the protein. So brown rice, brown. Don't use white rice, don't use white flour. You know, get the whites out of your life and replace with the browns.
So I've got this plate, and can I push the percentages over and eat more fruits and vegetables, or?
Yeah, if the meat falls off the plate, don't worry about it. Don't fetch it.
I do need some protein though, right?
You do need protein. you do. And so it's really important to have balance. But yes, if you get a little bit more than 50% of your plate vegetables, that's okay. Legumes actually count as vegetables as well,
okay,
in their corner. But yeah, the advantage of a whole food, plant-based diet, I cannot overemphasize it. There's a recent study on looking at men with prostate cancer, and this will affect 1 in 6 men. So this is really important. There is a stage early on in prostate cancer where it's now we just wait and watch, or active watching, they call it, active monitoring. And so during that time, watching tumour markers, having scans, no treatment is given. So Dr. Ornish thought, great opportunity for research. He put people on a whole food plant-based diet, and these men had that, reduced stress, good love and support, no smoking, and daily exercise. 500 gene switches were changed during that 3-month period.
amazing.
The tumour markers fell, the tumours began to regress. Those gene expressions, 450 were promoting or were causing cancer regression, and 50 that were promoting cancer were turned off. So this is really powerful stuff. I just can't emphasize it enough.
One short story where you've seen a leader who's taken it seriously and said, I want to be a healthy leader, and the difference it's made.
Yep, I don't think Frank will mind me using his name. Pastoring 7 churches, too busy for this. His wife wanted to run a CHIP program. He said, well, you go ahead, but don't count me in.
This is a health program.
This is a health program, the Complete Health Improvement Program. And she wanted to run this in the church. He said, go ahead, but I'm too busy. Well, he got his arm twisted. He did it. And he was barely able to walk with a cane when he started. He was very overweight. Now he's skipping and dancing. He threw the cane away a long time ago. He's trim. All his churches are now looking at Pastor Frank and saying, we want to be like that. We are going to do a CHIP program too. We're going to go through this. We're going to change our lifestyles. And it's been tremendous to watch.
What you've emphasized is that if I make a choice, if we make choices as leaders to be healthy, it will impact a lot of people in our circle.
Definitely. You are influencers of change, and you need to just optimize that responsibility and do it well.
Dr. Nerida McKibben, thank you so much for being with us today on Ministry in Motion. Thank you also for being with us. I've been so blessed, and I'm sure you have as well, as we talk about being healthy leaders. It's not a selfish commitment, because being healthy, putting that right fuel into your body, yes, and exercise and rest and reducing your stress all together can help you to enjoy life to the full, be a more effective leader, bless your family, and bless your church and your community. If you'd like to watch the program again, go to ministryinmotion.tv. Perhaps you need to send that address to a friend and say, this is message from heaven for you. We're talking about being healthy leaders. If you would like to go to our website, ministryinmotion.tv, there are many other resources for you that can help you to be all that God is calling you to be. And then once you've experienced that yourself, go and share the blessing with those around you.